And welcome to the final minutes. Yes, the final minutes. Make sure you let us know what you will be doing in your final minutes. So, yeah, drop us a comment. Let us know about your final minutes. Because your final minutes are counting down right there. So, hopefully you've got a good plan for your final minutes. And thanks for joining us, by the way, on our June Solstice stream. So we'll be doing a little news crawl early and a news crawl late. So this is might not be the normal YouTube live stream, but that's the whole point since we're in the final minutes of spring for the Northern Hemisphere. So pardon the clickbaity thumbnails, but keep in mind this is YouTube. So these sorts of things are not just a fixture, but a thing that is incentivized by certain organizations. By the way, pardon my appearance. I'm all full of space. So that's, here at the Smash News Network, least busted name in news, we are all about being spaced out. And, I am the most spaced out rider on the Velo Shop UCI trade team. Anyway, we'll be talking about a little bit of news stuff, a little bit of space stuff, as it's been some interesting times going on. The past 48 hours have certainly been interesting since there's been an X-class solar flare. And since we put out this morning's daily space weather video, there was even an M-class solar flare. You can see up here in the southeastern limb. So yeah, it's all very interesting in that solar flares are predictable and there's a way to forecast them and so forth. It's hilarious that there are certain YouTube channels that are putting out this information about how to forecast a solar flare as if it's some kind of new information. I remember reading about this. I believe it was discovered in the early 2000s when I first started talking about space weather. Although it wasn't in a capacity like on YouTube. It was with friends and family, work acquaintances, and so on. So, yeah, the final minutes of spring. Welcome to them. It's, I'm pressing buttons here that I ought not to be pressing. Okay, I didn't do any damage. Cheers. It's a countdown of the final 25 minutes of spring, or of autumn as winter approaches. But the good news for all of you in the Southern Hemisphere is that it means that the sun is actually returning, right? The solstice is the sun's lowest point in the sky on the ecliptic. So there you go. And I've already done my final ride of the year. Yeah, my final ride of the year has already been done. In fact, I should probably put it up on YouTube. I haven't done that yet. So, yeah, I mean, by the way, if you want to follow more stuff about health and fitness and diet, lifestyle sort of stuff, cycling tech, all kinds of current events and so on, hit us up on Instagram. You'll find some content that you can't see anyplace else over there, obviously. So yeah, we've been putting up shorts and it's been pretty amusing. So what are you doing with your final minutes? Your final minutes, oh noes, folks. And of course, as you may have noticed, especially for the past 3 years, but really for all time. I mean, if it bleeds, it leads, right? So, ridiculous content, titles, thumbnails, and subject matter in general. You may have noticed that our YouTube channel thumbnails contain more legitimate information than entire YouTube channel repertoires. There is a reason for this. Just a minute here, folks, and make sure you drop us a comment so we know what you're up to in your final minutes. and that is because I forgot to upload a short. So anyway, there's a new short that's just about to be active on YouTube. So, and check out the shorts if you haven't, by the way. Check out this morning's daily space weather video, some spectacular imagery. In fact, let's actually cut to it here, since one of the fantastic things that we showed was indeed that. That was 24 hours ago this morning. And just spectacular imagery. By the way, also, folks, don't forget to click the icon in the upper right corner of the chat, as the YouTube live stream chats are default to top messages. In other words, they're sorted. You might not see all comments unless you click that little gear in the upper right, and then you click chat filter, all messages, and make sure you have all messages checked. We just want to make sure everybody knows about that, because we don't want to see the comments section censored, or really anything that's legal censored. You should be able to say the most putrid things that you want to say, because the solution to bad ideas is actually good ideas, not attempting to silence people. That is a fail. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, my just a couple hours ago, I did a little training ride, and found myself unintentionally in a bike race. So that was a thing. By the way, if any of you people that were in that bike race are viewing the stream, drop us a line, leave us a comment. It was over at the Bob Rodale Trail, and right as I was starting my hot laps, a race began. So I did 6 hot laps, just a short 5-mile effort, and a bike race started midway through my first lap. So what that did is that caused me to be in the bike race unintentionally. And I did my best to not affect it. I mean, it doesn't really do too much when you just blow past a pack and then drop them. So, but that was one of those things that just happens when you're on the bike. I've been in inline skating races, actually, in a similar manner. You just show up at a place, and there might be people doing a training race or something. If they don't have the park closed, then you're just in the race. And of course, aerodynamics do play. So if you are at a similar speed and you pass them and then you can't get rid of them, you'll be pulling the race along in cycling because of drafting. You know, it's like a school of fish or a flock of geese, in that we're in each other's slipstreams. That's why we ride so closely together, obviously, because of aerodynamics. So, but fortunately there were big speed differentials today, so my effort was only about 5 miles. So it was anyway, kind of a funny way to end spring there, with an interesting bike ride indeed. So we've got less than 20 minutes left of spring. What have you been doing with your final days? And, you know, keep in mind, this is the 3 brightest days of the whole year, or if you're in the southern hemisphere, the 3 darkest days. Let us know in the comments if you think you're going to be nuked, by the way. A lot of people seem to think nuclear weapons are going to get detonated. I am not believing it, but there definitely are a lot of warmongering psychos on planet Earth. So, you know, that's something to take into consideration also, because some of the recent statements made about shall we say, proxy wars have been, shall we say, disturbing. Anyway, let's do a news crawl on that note, and see what else is going on. We're going to go to, I like this news source, by the way, so check this out sometime if you haven't ever seen it before. It's called ground.news. And what it'll do is it'll actually sort your news, so it'll give you like some idea of whether your news is biased. So it'll like rate whether or not a website is left leaning or right leaning and so on, because frankly most people aren't political sociopaths. So, you know, most people aren't like party hardliners. So because of that, most people don't really want biased news reports. What's up with my hairdo? That's what happens when you don't get a haircut, folks. You have jacked up hairdos. And anyway, so yeah, ground.news, it'll like curate your news feed in an unbiased way. I like it anyway. So I figured I would include that there for you. Whoa, what happened? We entered into an abysmal control screen there. So yeah, let's see what's going on as far as news stories. By the way, we've lowered the profile of the Smash News Network logo here because it was a little bit over the top. So what do we have? Top story here is FTC suing Amazon over deceptive Prime sign-up and cancellation process. So that's an interesting one. I don't have beef with Amazon. In fact, we have an Amazon shop, which we actually typically feature on the videos. And you can visit our shop if you like. It's amazon.com/shop/smashomash. You can find various different products there, including the one that I'm currently utilizing. So, you know, when we make our daily space weather videos in the morning every day, the coffee that we're drinking, the cocoa that we drink before we put up the videos, and so on, you can buy all of that stuff through the Amazon shop. You can't buy my cycling jersey, though. You got to go to the Velo Shop to get that. TheVeloShop.net is the website of our UCI trade team. Again, if you want to check out a bunch of interesting picks there on what products we're endorsing, check out the Amazon shop, amazon.com/shop/smashomash. So one of the products featured there are our multicolored mugs. This one is like a lavender color, and we've got a whole set of those. And this stream is actually going to include the ceremonial changing of the coffee mugs, which we will explain next season, which is only in a few minutes, actually. So that's, again, only 15 minutes, less than 16 minutes here until we are in summer officially. And thanks again for leaving comments, everybody who has. That is Can Squatch, Smasho Staff, Selene B, Kenneth Small, George of the Jungle, and Sky Thing. Yes. Now, if you say nuclear, please don't say nuclear, all right? Nuclear. We spell it nuclear. That's not a thing. That would be of or pertaining to a nucleus, which those don't exist. So please say nuclear. If you say nuclear, stop saying nuclear. It's nuclear. Nuclear. Oh, yes. Troll McClure coming all the way from Czechia, I believe. Yes, coffee. Coffee was included in my terminology. Sorry, folks, the contents of this coffee mug are currently classified. We're trying to get an endorsement deal, or 12. So, anyway, that's some of what's going on. And let me shut off the Smash News Network logo. By the way, please do not run over cyclists who are wearing this kit. You can run over the other kits, just don't run over the Velo Shop riders. That would be unfortunate, as it might be me. So, yes, counting down to official summertime. You know, and I wish the seasons were a little bit differently, because being an astronomer / cosmologist, it's an issue having the seasons the way they are, of course, because they have to do with hot and cold, and I don't even really know. They're centered on the equinoxes, and I think they should be centered on the solstices, because when the sun gets lowest in the sky, that's the winter solstice, and when it gets highest in the sky, that's the summer solstice. So, you know, I feel like the season should be centered that way, and I hate the change to standard and daylight savings time. I despise it, can't stand it, and also I dislike it. So, yeah, yes, Yes, the ex-president. And by the way, a lot of people think that it was actually Nixon's fault, that people still to this day say nuclear. And it's pretty bad because, again, there's no such thing as a nucleus. So nuclear means of or pertaining to a nucleus. Nuclear is not a thing. There is no such thing as a nucleus. Nucleus? Like that should be the name of a death metal band. And it just makes songs about brain death. That's all it makes songs about. It's called Nucleus. They make songs about brain death. They could make one called Nuclear War, which is, people consuming too much nonsense on the internet and then believing nonsense, things like this. Yes. Oh, so Consquatch, you'd like the coffee brand. Well, you can find the coffee brand in the Amazon shop. Let me leave a link in the comments. Again, it's amazon.com/shop/smashomash. You'll find not only these mugs in there, you'll also find coffee makers. You'll find the same exact coffee grinder that we use, which is a really cheap one. We use a $12 coffee maker, the kind that uses disposable filters, right? And and thanks to our viewers for making us aware of this about homocysteine, right? This is why we drink filtered coffee. It's because French press coffee contains some bad amino acids that you should stay away from, namely one called homocysteine. So it's an extremely high inflammatory marker. So it causes inflammation, and it's probably a carcinogen. Inflammation is something you should stay away from. So use a drip coffee maker with disposable filters. That's how to avoid the homocysteine. It gets filtered out by the filter. So that's why people are using drip coffee makers. And I believe percolators. Percolators will also, or do they? I'm not sure on that. Can anybody let us know in the comments if only filtered coffee? I think only filtered coffee, actually. So anyway. So yeah, check out the different things there. There's office furniture. We talked about that this morning. All kinds of cool stuff there. Stuff for your bunker, like bunker tubs. You got to make sure you put your electronics in plastic tubs because, pardon the sarcasm, that's going to totally do anything. And, of course, your silverware is going to melt. So, cheers. And we're nearly down to single digits of minutes left before the end. Yeah, the end. Oh, no's the end, folks. It's almost as scary as the beginning. Like when you become a college freshman after being a high school senior. Everybody is pro when they're high school seniors, and then what do you know? Whoops, the next year, everybody is a complete noob. So yeah, what else do we have? Canadian aircraft has detected underwater noises in search for missing sub near Titanic. I hope they rescue those people, because if they do, that'll be a great lesson to not lock yourself in a carbon fiber and titanium coffin, which is sealed from the outside. Maybe put some fail-safes on your thing. If you're charging people $250,000 to ride on your submersible, we'll call it a submersible. If you're charging six figures to ride on your submersible, like if you go into space, there should be fail-safes. In other words, you shouldn't end up dead after paying that much money. Man, oh man, what are the insurance rates like? That is very, very uncool. I guess there still is some possibility these people may survive. Let's cross our fingers. Canadian aircraft detecting underwater noises in search for missing sub near Titanic. So let's fingers crossed on that idiotic story. And lawsuits coming to the company who hopefully will get rescued. Maybe they won't pay with their lives and only with their civil liability. They screwed up bad. Train accident in Tunisia. Okay. Why would that be a story? Who cares about a train accident in Tunisia? Seriously. Why is this? Look, I just endorsed Ground News, but still, you got to ask yourself, what? And by the way, pardon the transparency of my head. It's because because my hair varies in color and my brain is full of dark matter. Which, by the way, I've been making fun of since the mid-1990s. Yeah, wimps. You know about wimps? We should go look at some science news because, frankly, all this regular, everyday news is boring. SciTech Daily is a fantastic source. If you've never checked it out, highly recommend it. SciTechDaily.com. Always interesting stories going on over there. So, what do we have here? The Riddler has taken on a role as an author at SciTech Daily. Just kidding. Even lawyers prefer plain English because they can't memorize the Latin language and look up all the insane terms that are used in legalese and boilerplate. Just rewrite the stuff. You can use an algorithm to do it. The same way you can use an algorithm to attempt to destroy mankind. What could possibly go wrong besides, well, what's gone wrong in the past 3 years? But besides that, what could possibly go wrong? What do we got? All known planet hosting 3-star systems. I gotta say I don't care about that. Science made simple. What are particle accelerators? I gotta say I don't care about that either. Where you live, a surprising factor that could be making you age faster. Yeah, that's a good point. Let's talk about this one for a minute. By the way, if you live in New York City, part of the reason the property value has dropped in New York City is because of brake dust. Yeah, brake dust. It's very bad for you because you've got a bunch of metals, heavy metals, and other extremely exotic compounds that make up brake pads. Not only being aerosolized in the braking process, but being deposited all over the road. So if you're a cyclist who's riding in the rain on New York streets, you're picking up brake dust and it's getting all over you. You're inhaling some of it, you're ingesting some of it, it's getting all over you and all over your gear. That has a tendency to be bad for you. What the heck is that? That is a new thing. I've never seen that before. Expand to show full article. Okay. Tell me SciTech Daily is not a subscription services site now. Anyway, yes, of course, being in a heavily polluted place with smog all day, if you breathe smog all day, that's going to be bad for you. Wow, what a concept. Imagine riding 40 miles a day on your bicycle, right? I mean, I know people who've done that who did it for years in a row while racing, which is not something that's advisable, by the way, 300-mile weeks. That amounts to 42 miles a day. And that's too many miles. Although, if you are capable of sustaining that, then that's a big deal. And imagine what it would be like in Beijing riding that much, right? 42 miles a day in Beijing. And if you miss a day, you get to ride 84 miles the next day. That's 300-mile weeks for you. Not recommended. People that do the Tour de France don't do 300-mile weeks all year long. I've had teammates that did it all through the winter. So, anyway, solar paradox, how the sun's coldest sunspot umbra powers its million-degree corona. Now, of course, there's not a lot of radiation that comes out of sunspots. It's part of what makes a thing dark. So when you say a thing is bright or a thing is dark, basically what you're stating is that it's not emitting a lot of radiation if it's dark, and it is emitting a lot of radiation if it's bright. Watch. See that? That's bright. It's emitting a lot of radiation. It's a bit lighter. Yes. Sunspots are not bright. They're dark. That's why when you look at them through a telescope with a proper filter, they appear dark in color. Does that mean they're cold? Well, there's a lot of disagreement about whether or not they're cold. Many of us think they're kind of hot. However, they're not emitting a lot of radiation that can be detected from Earth. So there is a problem in that sometimes you have to reach out and touch something in order to get its temperature, because you have to have it in a state of thermal equilibrium to accurately gauge its temperature. So yes, there are certain emissions that we see in the solar corona depicted there. There are certain chemicals that we see there, and we see certain chemical signatures. However, there is a soup of chemicals. And of course, we're not looking at the complete spectra We're looking at very specific chemical species. And by the way, where are we? We're only 3 minutes until summertime, folks. What will you do in your final 3 minutes? By the way, today is a 2-bike ride day. I already did one. I've already showered and put on my Sunday best to start out summer. In a way, on my Sunday best, yes. So I ended spring strong. I did a 22.6 mile per hour average speed for my little 5-mile time trial training. And a little tidbit about cycling, right? There are a lot of people that they amass 8,000, 10,000, 12,000, 15,000 miles a year. And I'm here to tell you that I don't care about any of that stuff. So your daily mileage, it's completely irrelevant to me because I'm concerned about going fast. All right. So, for a lot of people, the sport of cycling is a lifestyle. They're part of the Coalition for Alternative Transportation. They don't want to use cars at all and things like that. Or they're just like, the bike is, and keep in mind, the bicycle is the most efficient means ever devised to transport humans. So that's a thing. It's the most efficient means ever devised to transport humans. So motorcycles are pretty efficient, but bicycling is the most as far as efficiency, energy used versus gains attained. So anyway, cheers. It's the final minute of your lives. I figured I would end spring with a rant about cycling, a sport which I'm a lifetime steward of. And again, I'm not a cycling lifetime guy. I'm not a cycling lifestyle guy, I should say. I'm not a cycling lifestyle guy because I view cycling as a sport. Part of the reason why I go fast is because I've got other stuff to do afterwards. And we're nearly down to our final 30 seconds of spring. What will you do with your summer? Let us know in the comments. You got to always look good. Even if you are slower than molasses in January, you got to look good, right? It's crucial. Be a well-dressed cyclist. Maybe head to veloshop.net and pick up some gear. You can get our team kits, probably, if they're in stock, which they may or may not be. And it's a countdown to summer. And thanks for tuning in, by the way, to the Smash News Network, Least Busted Name in News. And happy solstice. Congratulations, those of you in the southern hemisphere. The sun is returning, and it is now getting darker in the northern hemisphere. The sun is losing altitude on the ecliptic for those of us north of the equator. So, yeah, if that's bad news for you, sorry, but happy June solstice. And thanks everybody for tuning in. Congratulations on realizing that the channel exists. We're frankly surprised. And look for more summer colors coming. We're getting rid of our spring colors and transferring because, check it out, it's the ceremonial transferring of the mugs. We're going from this lavender colored mug to this ruby colored mug, which, by the way, is also on the Amazon shop. So here's the transfer, and we hope you're enjoying summer so far. We hope your spring was a delight. We're going to head back to the news crawl here in just a moment. I just wanted to complete the ceremonial transfer. There it is. Now using the dark red mug, as it is now summertime. So happy summer, Northern Hemisphere. Happy winter, those of you in the Southern Hemisphere. And remember, the sun is returning already. It's already on its way back, folks. That's not good. Oh, it didn't break. All right. Okay, so yes, we are back. It is now summertime officially in the Northern Hemisphere. So, what does that mean? Let's start firing on all cylinders, folks. And let's just take a brief moment to look at some other wavelengths here. So we're going to show the latest 48 hours here to kick things off, because we aren't even at solar maximum yet. And look at the activity. Oh, wait, it's this way. Look at the activity. You've got an M-class flare and an X-class flare in the past 48 hours, actually multiple M-class flares. So yeah, happy solstice. Now, I'm going to step away for a brief moment, and I'm going to come back and do another quick little news crawl and close this thing out, because guess what? I'm going back on the bike. So, and here's another little fun fact about cycling, folks. Brace yourself. This is some legit science cycling stuff. Listen closely. A hot day is faster than a cold day. And a hot, humid day is faster than a hot, dry day. It's for two reasons. One, hot air is less viscous than cold air. Cold air is more viscous than hot air, which means it will get out of your way more easily than hot air will. Moist air is less massive than dry air because of the molecular mass of atmospheric nitrogen versus atmospheric H2O. H2O is lighter than N2. So a hot, humid day is much faster, okay? This is part of the reason why the Tour de France happens in July, because we want to see people reach the pinnacle of their speeds. And being highly trained and then riding with the best riders in the world and then doing a time trial at the end of the Tour de France after spending 3 weeks riding with the fastest sociopaths in the world on a really hot, humid day yields the fastest rides ever. So the next time you're on your bike and you go, wow, it's really hot, just realize that the hotter it is, the less the air is pushing back on you, right? The main thing that is slowing you down on the bicycle, folks, is air resistance, right? So you can buy a $6,000, $15,000 aero bike, but if you're sitting upright instead of with a flat back, you will be slow because you're blocking a lot of air, and air is a fluid. So a hot, humid day is the fastest condition. Now, of course, there's a condition faster than that too, and it's often, a lot of places they'll have a faster condition where on a hot, humid afternoon, you'll have a thunderstorm roll in where the atmospheric pressure drops, and that's the sweetest of the spots, because if there's a storm rolling in and you're getting in your race just before the storm, it'll be very hot, very humid, and with very low pressure, sometimes with almost no wind also, or sometimes with the wind in the opposite direction, as is normal for the course. So that, because extreme low pressure buildups will cause the wind to blow in the opposite direction. So just some fun facts there for you about the sport of cycling. It might be a little more complex than pedaling hard. Some people think that furiously pedaling will win you a bike race, and it's a little more complicated than that. But anyway, I'm going to step away for a minute. I'll be back. We'll look through a little more economic stuff and things like that, because I need a nature break. So, see you in a minute. And let me just clarify something I was saying. You can buy a very expensive aerodynamic bike, but if your body is not flat, if you're sitting like this instead of like this, if your back is not flat, you will not be fast because you are blocking a lot more air than your bicycle. So just keep that in mind, because there are plenty of people that are out there riding ill-fitting bikes that cost $5, $8, $10, $15,000, but they're sitting upright. So those aerodynamic advantages are entirely lost. By buying a very expensive bike, folks, you gain marginal gains. So a combination of your fitness and then all of those other factors, the stiffness of the frame, the stiffness of the wheels, the aerodynamics, the weight of the components, all of these things figure in. But all of the bike tech is all marginal gains. To quote Michael Jordan, it's not the shoes. It is not the shoes, okay? Michael Jordan's vertical leap is not derived from shoes. Get it? So those marginal gains are only achievable if you have the raw materials to use them to your advantage. So once you reach a certain point, yes, at that point, a $10,000 bike will perform better than a $2,000 bike, for sure. I mean, well, almost for sure. I guess it depends on your position. But again, marginal gains. When you're well, maybe you'll have that locked-in feel in riding soon. But marginal gains, a combination of all of those marginal gains, that's true. Exactly. Troll McClure. Humid hot air does block less cosmic rays. So yes, the fastest bike race is when we see a hurricane. I'm not kidding. I've raced in hurricane remnants, and one of those times I raced in a hurricane remnant, there was a course record that had held for a long time in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, that was broken twice in the same day, and it was because of the extreme low pressure. That same extreme low pressure, if there's less stuff between you and the cosmic rays, you will have a higher net cosmic ray personal exposure. It's you got to give up something to get something else. And of course, the important thing to understand about cosmic rays is, to some people they're going to be beneficial, to some people they're going to be harmful, some people they'll be neutral as far as the net difference. But the thing to understand about cosmic rays is that you need to evolve or die. Because, I mean, it might seem strange, but that's just a basic fundamental fact of the universe. So stars are doing it. Planets are doing it. You're doing it, whether you like it or not. The question is, how will you respond to that evolution? Will it be good for you, bad for you? Hopefully good for you, as you do have some control over these features, right? So, that's basically you are a living laboratory, right? So one of the cool things about cycling is that it's very easy to make a lot of scientific measurements based on your performance, because you're on a bike. You're doing a certain course of a certain length over a certain time with certain temperature and humidity and pressure characteristics. If you know at what data to look at, you'll have a very accurate indicator of all kinds of features of your fitness that go well beyond counting steps. Like, there's so many people counting steps. I'm so tired of hearing about counting steps. I did 0 steps. I don't know how many steps. And look, cycling does not have the benefits for your bone density that other things have. However, you have to be elite at something. There's something that you're better at than everything else, right? You may be the best volleyball player of everybody you know, right? Think of all the sports that you and all of your friends participate in, right? Is there one that you're just way better than everybody else, where you're like a mutant? Where, like, you don't want to compete in the corporate league because you're a ringer? If there's a thing like that, then that's sort of your athletic specialty. Now, of course, many people excel at whatever sports they try. That's the thing. Primoz Roglic, a prime example, the Slovenian rider who won the Giro d'Italia this year in May, the world's second largest bicycle race. Primoz was a ski jumper. So that crazy event where they hit the giant jump and then they're in the air for like 12 seconds and they're jumping like I don't know, like 300 feet or so, like insane jumps. The small hill and the big hill, that's what Primoz Roglic did. So, that guy, he's not a normal cyclist. And, that's a cool thing about sports, because a lot of times you get weirdos that show up there and they're good at multiple sports. Like Bo Jackson is a prime example. If you remember the late 1980s in the U.S., there's a guy called Bo Jackson. He played for the Kansas City Royals and I think it was the Oakland Raiders at the time. It might have been the L.A. Raiders. I think it was the Oakland Raiders. And that guy was so stacked that, he would drag half of an offensive line 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 yards down the field. Just one guy. I think Bo Jackson's like, at the time, I think he was like 5'11", 5'10", 260 or 250 or something like that. Just stacked. But he was too strong for his hips, so his muscles kept ripping his hips apart. And this is a thing that we have a lot of times when it comes to sports, because when you get too strong, your body tries to destroy itself. So, this is a reason why if you get really good at one thing, you got to cross train, right? If you can do Brian Bosworth got laughed at. He was one of the biggest fails of college stars. Played for the Oklahoma Sooners and got to the NFL, and people were like, lol, that mullet's not going to work, dude. You're getting clotheslined. Boz was made out to be bigger than he really was. Like, Boz's skill was that he was fast, I think, but everybody wanted to be big in the late 1980s. So, Christian Okoye too, but, dude, F equals MA is all I have to say. Those little guys that play defensive back, they're way more dangerous than linebackers. Because the little guys that play defensive back, we are able to hit people at very, very high speeds and select intercept courses that cause a catastrophic result when people try to catch a football. But that's a whole nother story. Anyway, I digress heavily. I don't like the kind of bike racing that looks like pro wrestling. When you see guys, they're like sprinting and they're elbowing each other and they're like bumping into each other, and they're like, sometimes they don't even crash when that happens. I'm not a fan of that. And I've been in countless bump arounds. Everybody who's been at the front of a race at the end, where there's a mass start, sprint, finish, everybody's has seen this and experienced it. It's not really that dangerous, because bike racers it's not like doing a club ride when it happens. People freak out and decide they're going to crash. It's not the same thing. But it's interesting. All right, so let's look at a little bit of news stuff here. Let's check out this story, as I have no idea what this is about. How the sunspot's coldest umbra powers its million-degree corona. All right, this sounds important, and I haven't read it, so I'm not going to do any extensive commentary. But what I can do is let it scroll. Please don't do that again. Okay. It wants an extra click or something. So I haven't read this. I have no idea what it's talking about. Somebody figured out somehow that cold sunspots equal a hot corona. Of course, this is an ongoing controversy and problem in heliophysics that is relentlessly debated by those folks who understand something about the physics. High-resolution observations of transverse motion in a sunspot. Oh, that's pretty sweet. Let's take a look. We'll keep it on mute. It's also on kind of a small screen here, so should be fine. What do we got there? We got transverse motion of a sunspot. This is pretty sweet. You see, that's what happens when you don't look at CNBC and CNN and CBS News first. You look at this first, and there you go. I gotta say, I've never seen that before. That's... yeah, you've got transverse waves there. It looks like... and let's get super controversial here, folks. Those are gravitational waves. You see the figure B? Figure B. Yeah, that's... those waves are emanating from the photosphere up into the lower corona. So this is 171 angstroms. It features the lower corona. It's the house favorite wavelength, and part of the reason is because it shows plasma orienting to magnetic fields. So you've got these little magnetic reversals that are happening in the the magnetic field is switching from north to south, south to north. Or rather, you've just got variations in the field intensity. But either way, you've got these transverse waves. Because keep in mind, folks, as you look at figure B there, where my pointer is thousands of kilometers lower than where that letter B is. So again, this is like a huge depression. It's like a huge depression in the corona. It is a high magnetism region, and it's pulling material into it with very strong magnetic fields. Very much the opposite of a coronal hole, which is a puffing up of the corona where material's flying into space. So a completely different thing. A sunspot, very important to understand this distinction, that a sunspot is an area of high magnetic field density and high magnetic pressure, effectively. So, the magnetohydrodynamic pressure very high inside, like this area down here where my pointer is. And that magnetic field is diminishing as you come up through the corona. The weird part is, why is it getting so hot? And the answer is because there's a lot of chemicals out there. There is a lot of material waiting to react with stuff that has been pulled down and is just stuck there because of gravity. So as those things perform chemical reactions, they get really hot. That's what's happening in the corona. Maybe it's controversial to say this. I don't know. I don't frankly care. But whatever the paper says, it'll be interesting to read it. And also, of course, the citations. But this is sort of... could be groundbreakingly interesting, as I don't remember seeing such level of time-lapse stuff going on. So we're just going to scroll it here because I haven't actually looked at it, but you'll be able to read the paper for the most part just by viewing the video. So there's an interesting one that we just happened to stumble upon there at scitechdaily.com. And of course, that's what happens when you're on the cutting edge. If you understand how to process the publications, you'll be able to view them in real time. And perhaps make reasonable commentary. But yeah, that's a pretty interesting one. While these findings are a step forward toward solving the mystery, The energy flux coming out of sunspots may only be responsible for heating these loops that are rooted in sunspots. Meanwhile, there are other sunspot-free regions associated with hot coronal loops that still await to be explained. We expect that GST/BBSO will continue providing the highest resolution observational evidence to further unlock mysteries of our star. All right. I mean, sounds pretty sweet. Euclid's mission into the unknown to reveal the nature of dark matter. And again, I've been making fun of WIMPs, weakly interacting massive particles, WIMPs, WIMPs, also known as dark matter. The most commonly accepted type of dark matter, WIMPs, weakly interacting massive particles. I've been making fun of them since the 1990s because there are a lot of issues with heliophysics that get us to WIMPs, but we'll save that for a cosmology segment. By the way, we hope you're enjoying summer so far. Starting out by taking a brief look at what's going on with financial markets, because it seems like there might be issues with the valuation of some things. And I'm going to not mention any of them in particular because I prefer the video to remain monetized, if it still indeed is monetized. But let's take a look at what's going on here with major indices. So the Nasdaq's down a bit, the S&P's down marginally, the Dow Jones is down barely anything. Crypto, I haven't heard anybody trying to talk to me about crypto recently. Good God, Bitcoin is at 29,000. And maybe that's why nobody wants to talk to me about, oh, it's not that bad, though. Okay, the 1 year, what's the 5 year? Oh, okay, it's not that great. Whatever. So there's Bitcoin. There's the 5 year chart of Bitcoin. And I'm unimpressed, as I always have been. Here's we'll also, oh wait, let's use coin metrics here. Here's Ethereum Classic. What the hell? It's $16? How is it $16? I thought it was like $200. What in the hell? That's the chart. Wait a minute. Is that regular Ethereum? God, that looks like utter garbage. No, that's legit. Wait a minute. Ethereum. Oh, there we go. Yeah, 1,800. Goodness gracious. It's always been my favorite crypto. Oh, okay. Now there's a very similar chart to Bitcoin. I don't know. What can I say? I don't even think I own any, actually. And let's also take a look at stellar lumens on coin metrics. Stellar lumens, folks. 9 cents per stellar lumen. There's the 5 year. Almost the same chart as Bitcoin and Ethereum. So anyway, those are the biggest, the second biggest, and then a penny issue. Wow. All right. Have I told you that we're going to do a second stream today? Yeah, we're going to do a second live stream on YouTube today. So our Wednesday afternoon stream, yep, it's here again today, coming at you at 3 o'clock. So leave us a comment, folks, if there's anything that... What do we have here? Let's see here. What do we have? Any comments? I see some lengthy comments here from certain viewers. Yes, Troll McClure. Robitaille said that the solar chromosphere is not millions of degrees. That is correct. And keep in mind that in order to accurately measure a temperature of a thing, it has to be in a state of equilibrium. So when you look at the corona, does it look like it's in a state of equilibrium? Because that is a valid concern with the temperatures. So in other words, the overall temperature of a thing, you can have material that is in an area where the material is at a certain temperature, but the surrounding temperature is an issue, because if you're not in a state of equilibrium, how can you measure the temperature? Is your measurement really a temperature at that point? Anyway, many of the concerns are valid, and a quick point, by the way, is that if you enjoy our content and you would prefer to see it remain in existence, consider becoming a member of the Smash team. Did you know that we're actually streaming right now live to Twitch? And we do our daily space weather videos originally live on Twitch. However, they do oh, look at that. Nice. They do indeed rather quickly go into unpublished form, which is more like that than our daily space weather videos. So what is going on here? Dag. It's a breakdown. Well, that was perfect timing. I just got it reinitialized, and it shuts down. Sweet. It just timed out because reasons. Anyway, yeah, it's streaming like normal. That's that's what you'd typically expect to see on the Smash Team site. And we do send out things like email alerts and so on. Yeah. So happy summer. It's about time to close this thing out, because we've been just about at an hour here. And by the way, thanks to all of our new subscribers and so on. Thanks to everybody who's pressed like, share, etc. Have you seen our shorts? Yeah, the shorts are totally sweet. I mean, there's the breakdown of the recent ones. Wait a minute. I just uploaded one. There we go. There's the latest. So there was my last ride. Go check those out. You can find them at youtube.com/smashomash/shorts. So let's see if we've had any more flaring since that recent M-class flare. Nope. Peak flux of that was around... Peak flux was around 12:44 Universal Time. That's fine. Let's bring up some more imagery of the closest star here. I guess we should look at stuff besides crypto. Let's look at stuff besides crypto, shall we? All right. So to quote Stuttering John, a.k.a. Is there an a.k.a.? It's just Stuttering John. To quote Stuttering John, let's look at the rest of these financial markets here. So, all right, let's look at the S&P. Here's the S&P. There's the 5-year of it. I have no comment. I do have a comment. Some people are still able to do their own jobs in 2023. Some people don't suck at their own jobs for the past decade. Some people don't. NASDAQ, there's the NASDAQ 1-year chart. Here's the NASDAQ 5-year chart, very similar to the S&P. No further comment on that. Dow Jones Industrial Average what is it, the 20 largest stocks, the 10 largest stocks in the U.S., some number of the largest stocks in the U.S., I don't know. There you go. There's a 1-year chart, very flat. And there's a 5-year chart, very flat. Looks very garbagey. And it looks ready for a breakout, which it probably is. Value stocks. I won't say anything other than the word value stocks. Tech stocks are garbage. Moving right along to commodities, which, by the way, always have value. Commodities, you know what those are, right? Things like pork bellies and crude oil and refined oil and gas and gold and silver and magnesium and so on. All of these things. Lithium. Lithium, anybody? Infrastructure? Can it exist? Is it destroyed? These things always have value, no matter, even if civilization, even if mankind decided to run away from the earth, go move elsewhere. Guess what? Many of those commodities would still have value. Cheers. So oil's at $72.26. There you go. There's the 1-year chart. Ooh, it's actually very low here. There's the 5-year chart. It looks like so many other things like the S&P and crypto. People are sick of investing. Everybody's been on vacation for the last 10 years. Here is gold. Gold should be a bit of an inverse chart compared to everything else. But is it really? Not so much. Just flat on the last 5 years. That's gold, 5-year chart. How about silver? Will it look even more ridiculously? You'd think it would be highly inflated at this point. It's $22.78 per ounce. Let's don't create a run on the silver market, but there's the 5-year chart of silver. Interesting, right? What does this chart look like? There's the all data chart. Let's go back to the 5-year and not emphasize this any further. Last but not least, let's look at one commodity. How about cocoa? Since we sell it on the Amazon store. Yeah, cocoa. I drink some every morning like one of those crazy nuns who lost their you-know-what. Yeah, did you know some nuns lost their you-know-what because of cocoa? Well, I'm glad to see you don't understand anything that I do or almost anything in the letters or numbers and the colors and don't know and your heart breaks. Congratulations, Sarita. Way to tune in and not understand anything that we're saying. Thumbs up, and don't forget to leave a thumbs up and press subscribe. We like to be completely out of touch with our viewers. Thank you, Sarita, for breaking out, letting us know that we make no sense to you. Cheers. So yeah, I mean, again, let us know in the comments what you're up to this summer. I'm about to go back out on the bike, and I'll be dressed like this. So if you see somebody dressed like this, please don't run me over. Where I'll be riding and what I'll be doing on the bike and so on is completely classified. So yeah, there's that. There's cocoa. Yeah, cocoa. Let's see. Got to put the 5-year. And there's a 5-year chart of cocoa. Good God, there's been a run-up on cocoa for the past 5 years. Is that the highest ever? No, it's not, but it's right around the peak. So I would recommend not buying any more freaking cocoa. If so, you're chasing a run on the market. Keep in mind, this is not investment advice. These coincidental statements are for novelty purposes only and should not be construed as investment advice, as I am not currently any sort of a certified financial planner. I used to be a day trader, but I'm not any kind of a current Series 6 or 63 or Series 7 principal holder. Nothing like that. But cocoa looks expensive. And you know where you can get it a lot cheaper? By using our Amazon shop. For real. Check it out. So there's a featured product. But if you go to the coffee stuff, Here you go, Can Squatch. The coffee that we drink every morning is right here. Bam, bam, bam. Cameron's 4-pound bag of Scandinavian whole bean organic, baby. That is a value. It's actually this way. That is a value. If ever you've seen one, a 4-pound bag of organic whole bean for $24. In your face, everybody who's drinking inferior coffee. When we switched to organic coffee, we stopped getting the jitters. End of story. Here's the mug that I was showing earlier, by the way. That's also available on the list. We've ceremonially switched to the ruby red mug. Visible there in the imagery. So yeah, that's what's going on. And also, if you go to our spices list, you'll save a bundle by buying bulk spices instead of the ridiculous stuff that comes in the small jars. There's the Anthony's cocoa powder. This is what we're currently using, the 5-pound bag. It's 39 cents per ounce. So once again, in your face to everybody who's using inferior cocoa, cut me a break, dude. It's pure cocoa. I mean, you can buy very expensive candy bars that say 25% cacao, 40% cacao, yada, yada, yada. That is a whole bag of 100% cacao. And by the way, people take a lot of nutritional supplements to increase their nitric oxide levels. Cocoa increases your nitric oxide levels. It effectively gives you more blood oxygen. So if you wanted to go uphill faster, just saying, try the cocoa. It's all right. Anyway, it's time to get back on the bike again here because we're approaching true moon. Not true moon. I'm talking like Joe Biden here. We're approaching true noon, which happens at 1 p.m., by the way, during daylight savings time. Did you know that true noon actually occurs at 1 p.m. on daylight savings time? That is because daylight savings time artificially adjusts the time. So if you're right in the middle of your time zone, in the U.S., let's say you're right in the middle of the Eastern time zone, true noon is actually at 1 p.m. during daylight savings time and at noon during standard time. One of the many reasons why I hate the time changes. So yeah, I'm done talking about facts. Let's move to strictly conjecture. We hope your soul is not being cast into an ever-deepening and darkening abyss of doom, destruction, and doggy diarrhea during the remainder of this solar cycle. We hope you enjoy the fun trip to solar maximum, which we are not yet at. And check out the freaking filaments. The filaments right now are absolutely berserk. If you look at the filaments in the upper left, the northeastern limb, they are... Let me actually switch to a different view here. Not that. Kind of switch to this. What in the hell? Yeah, the site crashed there, folks. We crashed the site by being so popular. 4 people tuned into the live stream, and that crashed the Space Weather Prediction Center site. So check out this filament up here. It is a towering behemoth of a filament. Now look at that thing. That's just the past couple of hours. And we had a huge CME that came out of there this morning, and that's just... that filament didn't even care. That filament was like, hold my beer, bruh. So, yeah, anyway. Yeah, don't snort your cocoa. That'll be bad. That would be unfortunate. Yeah, pardon the incoherence there, Sarita. We try to make sense. And, one of the things that I like to cite about the channel is that if you have a high school physics level of understanding of science, if you're at a high school physics understanding, you'll either understand or be able to understand what we're usually talking about. You don't have to be Peter Schiff. By the way, make sure you watch Peter Schiff. And while I don't agree with Peter Schiff on everything, because the dollar's not going to collapse. So, anyway. Yeah, the dollar's not going to collapse, folks. So I hope that's the way I'm going to close out the video. I'm going to close out the video with some controversial stuff. The U.S. dollar's not going to collapse. It's not going to lose its place anytime soon as the world reserve currency because it's a better place to invest. The businesses are better. The people are smarter, faster, and stronger than everybody else. And the resiliency is there, and the ability to adapt is beyond what everybody else is doing. So that's going to just continue to be the place, because don't underestimate the average American, because the average American is far from average. So, I mean, I'm not coming at this from a perspective of some kind of weird populist patriotic nonsense. I'm coming at this from a perspective of pragmatism. I'm interested in things that work. So when it comes to theories about the sun, I'm interested in things that work. Theories that are plausible within the realm of known physics. So, yeah, so that's where I'll close things out. The U.S. dollar is not collapsing. Why? Because all the other major world currencies are worse. Much worse. And it's not even close. The euro is a more inflated currency. The yen is a more inflated currency. And the yuan? Really? Do I even have to comment on how garbage the yuan is? China is a paper tiger held together by bubble gum and dental floss. So, and best of luck to China, because you need it. Whether you're the average citizen or the Communist Party itself, good luck, because you need it. If you're frightened of China, snap out of it. Don't be in a weird geopolitical cult, but do enjoy your summer, and happy solstice, everybody. Congratulations on realizing the Smash News Network least busted name of news exists. It is time to blast off.